Hey folks, welcome back to another video with yours truly, Sam Healey. Welcome to the new year 2016, and hey, just figured why not do something new? And so I'm doing a top 5 Viking Games video to start off. Not doing a top 10 because hey, top 10s are for Measy and Tom. Tom does his own, but I'm going to leave that be. Top 5 is where I'm at. You probably won't be able to put up with me for more than 5 anyway, so that's okay. So anyway, I'm going to do my top 5 Viking themed games. Now, Viking games that are on this list have a caveat. These are my top 5 Viking games. So that carries with it the inherent caveat. These are games that I have played. So if the Viking game that immediately comes to your mind when I said top 5 Viking games, if it's not on the list, it's probably because I haven't played it or I just simply disagree with you. Any one of those are viable. Before we get to my list, though, I do have some honorable mentions that didn't make the list for one reason or another, and I'll share those reasons with you. First of all, the Jarl. The Jarl is a really cool Viking re-theme of the Duke, which is kind of a chess-esque game where you have pieces on a board that have a certain kind of move. They can go to certain areas. They can affect other areas. And you have a certain number of these on the board, and you can are going against, all the while you're trying to conquer the other person's or trap the other person's Jarl. It's really neat, just didn't make my list. Not really my flavor of game. Now, my next honorable mention is Midgard. This is a really cool game that had its flaws back in the day, but I still enjoyed it. I still had fun playing the game, Midgard, and so it made my honorable mentions, just didn't make the cut for the list. Another one is Villainous Vikings. Now, Villainous Vikings is on my honorable mentions because I've had a lot of people tell me that I need to try this game. I just haven't been able to try it yet. So I'm mentioning it mainly to cut you guys off at the pass, those of you who are going to come on and say, how dare you not include Villainous Vikings? Well, it's because I haven't played it, so there's that. Another one is Shipwrights of the North Sea, and I haven't played this one yet either, which is why it's not on my list. Might not even make my list, might not even have made my list if I didn't like it, but I haven't played it yet. And without further ado, let's get into my top 5 Viking games. Now, my number 5 is a game that when I first saw the box, I was like, whoa, that's cool looking. And then I watched it being played. I was like, that doesn't seem like a Viking game to me. But then I actually played it. And while it's not actually a rondel, it's the first kind of introduction to a rondel for me. And I've talked about this game before, but this game is called Vikings, and it's a really neat game with a Viking theme severely plastered on. Really, I think the game could have been about anything, but it had the Viking theme pasted on, and it had good artwork, and I enjoyed the game, still in my collection. But that's why it made number 5. This is a game with a Viking theme on it. Not really a Viking game, but I think it still fits the list. So my number 5 is Vikings. My number 4 is a game that I have just played. I've played it twice in the last 4 days. And that's actually a pretty cool thing if you think about it. I really enjoyed the game. Has the Viking theme on it that actually does fit the mechanics. It makes sense. The different mechanisms in the game make sense for the most part in a general sense. And that is Raiders of the North Sea. Now, Raiders of the North Sea is where you all start on a certain part of the board, the bottom part of the board, and the first part of the game is a very strong worker placement game where you are gathering resources and hiring crew and all of this, building up your armor and everything like that to begin raiding different outposts and monasteries and fortresses that are on the other side of the North Sea. And so the first part of the game is this worker placement micro game almost, where you're gathering all of your resources, and that carries throughout the rest of the game. But then as the game progresses, you spend more time actually doing the raiding and actually doing the plundering and that type of stuff. You still have to build resources in amongst all of those different raids, but it's really fun. I've enjoyed both of the times. There are a number of different paths to victory, but I think they're all pretty balanced for the most part. You have to pretty much have your hand in a lot of different pies there, so check that out. My number 4, Raiders of the North Sea. My number 3 is a game that has replaced one of my other games that I've really enjoyed. Now, I never had this other game in my collection, and I'm actually glad that Champions of Midgard came out because it saved me the purchase of Lords of Waterdeep. Now, Lords of Waterdeep is a great game. I enjoy it. The D&D theme works very well with it. It is a little vanilla, so to speak, whereas the theme could be kind of anything. But Champions of Midgard has a very neat a Viking theme added onto it that the mechanisms in the game really latch onto. Building your own boat or hiring one from the dockyards. Gathering your different people for the raid for glory. And the raid for glory is not you know, killing people on some foreign shore and taking all of their stuff. It could be that. It could be going to fight a sea monster or going to fight this monster over here. And that's what I enjoyed about Champions of Midgard. You can stay at home and fight the Draugr and do all of that. So Champions of Midgard, while the theme is not incredibly heavy, it is definitely there, and it completely works with all of the mechanisms of the game. And that's why it made my number 3 Viking game, Champions of Midgard. Now, my number 2 is a game that I've enjoyed for a very, very long time. I've been enjoying this game for almost a decade now, and I completely enjoy this very much. It just got a reprint last year by IDW, and that is Fire and Axe, a Viking Saga. Now, Fire and Axe is a game that I enjoyed a lot, even when Tom did not like it. He disliked it so much so that he gave his copy to my wife for one of her birthdays one year. So, hey, cool beans, because I got a game out of it that I really enjoy. Well, we got a game out of it that we really enjoy. My wife has enjoyed this a lot. But you take your boat and you are sent out from either Norway, Sweden, or Denmark to go out and conquer trade relations, you name it. The whole point, of course, is to get the most points at the end of the game. But the Viking theme is strong with this one, and I've enjoyed it a lot. My number 2, Fire and Axe, a Viking Saga. Now, my number 1 is probably one that you already knew I was going to say when I mentioned what the topic of the list was going to be. My number 1 Viking game right now, and probably will be for quite some time, is Eric Lang's Blood Rage. Blood Rage is a game where it's kind of a hybrid between Ameritrash and Euro games. And those games, those two genres have come together for an incredible experience in Blood Rage. It has card drafting in it, it has area control, it has combat, it has death and glory. Matter of fact, dying can actually be a viable path to victory in this game, which is something that is new. The drafting of the cards can give your clan different upgrades, which will make your clan different from other clans. And so there's variable player powers in there and all of that stuff. You all start kind of vanilla, but as the game progresses and as you purchase more of these upgrade cards for your clans and for your warriors, your clan is different from everybody else's. And that's one of the things that I really do enjoy about this game, Blood Rage. Knew it was going to be number 1 on my list. Before I even started, it was my top game of 2015. So that is my number 1 Viking game of all time at this point, Blood Rage. So that is my top 5 Viking games. I hope you enjoyed the list. Please continue watching other videos that are on our channel. And if you have the time, please go check out our Kickstarter, which is currently going on right now for the year 2016. We certainly appreciate all of your support. And here's to the new year. See you on the flip side, folks.